don't know what to say back to your baby, just say what they said
That's
to
right.
you. Because
Repeat it back to them.
everyone likes to
Hear themselves. Yeah, that's
you know?
right. And babies, they love themselves.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
fabulous.
They are.
So they
think
will
they're great.
appreciate
They'll
it.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. It just also shows that delight in them, which all babies really love as well.
Play ideas in terms of development for eyes would be things like books,
Yeah.
toys, just going out into nature, looking at things. It's so simple.
Colour.
Yeah.
There has been a trend of the beige baby over recent years.
It's a nice
It
vibe.
looks lovely,
Yeah,
you know, to have everything sort of muted. But there is something in exposing your baby to colour.
You can do it through books.
Yeah, books,
Yeah.
nature, there's colour everywhere.
And not screens, we would say at this age.
Ngala acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the traditional custodians of Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging in the spirit of reconciliation. We acknowledge the importance of children being raised with connection to culture, community and family.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Jen.
Welcome back to Parenting with Ngala, Season 2. Last time we met, we discussed gross motor development in that first year. So this time, let's discuss fine motor development. Do you want to give a little bit of info about what that actually means?
Yeah, so fine motor development really is just referring to the small muscles of our body. So gross motor, think big, gross means big, fine, small. And we see fine motor muscles in predominantly the smaller parts of our body, so hands and feet, as well as actually our mouth. So we're going to be talking today about hand development, and we're also going to be talking a little bit about the development of language, because that requires the fine motor muscles of our mouth. And a few other interesting little tidbits that we couldn't fit in anywhere else. So today's a bit of like a bring it together. Ad hoc, you know, things where you're like, oh, let's mention that.
Yeah.
So if we think about hand development, obviously little newborn babies are born with a reflex, a grasping reflex, and that's really cute, isn't it? What does that look like, Jen?
It looks like your baby, you put your finger in their hand and they'll just grab onto it. They'll grab onto anything that you put in their palm.
And we think they're so brilliant and cute because they're like,
They
look at them
are.
holding our finger. And it is a physiological reflex that babies are born with. And then as they start to develop and explore the environment, those reflexes start to get integrated, and then we start to see more finessed, nuanced movements of the hands come out. But it doesn't go from A to Z. There's a lot that sort of happens in between. So when we think of a little baby, once that sort of primitive grasp reflex is starting to integrate, the first sort of thing we start to see is a real gross sort of grabbing movement of the hand. So grabbing with the whole hand and even just starting to reach. So starting to have movement of the shoulder, because we know that movement tends to go proximal, so close to our body, to distal. So that's how often we think of development happening close to the body and then gets further out. So often we're starting to have gross motor movements of the shoulder that's then maybe starting to show us a reach. So that's a great time when our baby's in tummy time, like we talked about last time, that we can start to put some toys a little bit out of reach. So we're really promoting that movement of the shoulder and then a big grasp. I'm doing a lot of movements.
You are.
I'm doing a lot of,
But I love it. I'm here for
You can
it.
imagine, or you can watch
yeah.
on YouTube. And then, that even starts to get more sort of precise, and we start to get something called a finger to palm sort of raking movement. So if you imagine, and you had a really great example when we were touching on this before, almost like a scratching motion.
In the cot, babies do it a lot. They'll scratch the cot surface.
Yeah, and it's an interesting sound that can come from that, but it's also just exploring a different movement. So again, before we had the movement of the whole hand, now we're starting to get more distal, more further away from the body, and starting to get movement of the fingers. So the fingers coming into the hand with more precision.
Yeah.
Then the magic starts happening around 8 months. Yep. That's when we're starting to see what I call the magic sort of pincer, grip or grasp. And this is such an important developmental stage because that is the grip that's going to help us for the rest of our lives do up buttons, pick up a pencil, do our makeup. Like it's a really
all those finicky little things.
Yeah. And really what it is a very precise pincer grasp is the use of the sort of the pads of our fingers, tips of our fingers and the tips of our thumb.
Yep.
A very human skill that not really many other mammals have, though I think raccoons do.
Raccoons, yeah.
Yeah.
They would. They look like they would.
Yeah, they have to have like special bins in certain countries to stop them. But anyway,
breaking in.
Yeah, because they have, they're more evolutionarily advanced. Okay,
we've moved on to raccoons. We need to come back to the pincer grip.
Yeah, we're not animal experts. Yeah. Don't quote me on it. So the pincer grip is really fantastic. Are there certain things that we can do, Jen, activities that can help from that 8-month mark to help with the development of that little pincer grip?
Definitely. I always encourage during solids, so when your baby's eating, it's a really good way to get them to practice that pincer grip using that thumb and that forefinger to pick up things. Steaming some peas, that's a really good one. They're nice and soft and can be really kind of hard to pick up because they roll around, and it just gets babies really practicing that movement, and just that neural pathway is getting really nice and deep in their brain. So stacking blocks as well, pulling scarves. So having a lot of scarves for them to pick up and pull, or tissues out of a tissue box.
Yeah, or even just washing out of the washing basket.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you might not even set up the activity and suddenly they
just make their own activity.
They've discovered it for you. And so that, pulling things out of a container, stacking things on top of each other, they're all really great activities.
Yeah.
What about turning pages of a book?
Yeah. And so you might read a book with your baby and think, what's the actual point? This baby's just turning the pages while I'm trying to read, but actually that's really good practice.
Yeah.
And you just let them lead the play.
Yeah. And board books are great for that because they're not likely to rip. Yeah, this is definitely the stage where your books will start to get
hard books because they're going to chew on them and they're going to rip them.
And
so,
throw
them. Yeah.
But all of that's great. Still interaction with books.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't have to look like perfect reading there.
No, that's right. So we've talked about the hand, muscles in the hand. The next thing we can talk about is the small muscles in the mouth.
Yeah, and this is something that people don't often think about with fine motor. They forget that fine motor also includes those little muscles in the mouth, and those muscles are required. And it's really interesting that we start solids around sort of 6 months as well. And also that's when babies might be starting 4 to 6 months. That's when we might see babies start to babble. So the same muscles that we need to be able to start developing in order to chew and to move food around our mouth are the same ones that we also need to start to produce sounds. So 4 to 6 months we might start to hear a baby babbling, starting to explore sounds, experimenting with mouth movements, maybe raspberries, maybe starting to stick out their tongue. And often the sounds that our babies are making are single syllable, so ma, ba, da, things like that.
Yes. 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, so that's when we might, it's kind of obvious, we might start to see a stringing together of those single syllables. So ma, 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 ba, 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 and maybe then towards the end of that more 9-month period, mixing it up a little bit. So ma, ba, da, or ma, yum, num, num, things like that.
So cute. So after that, what would we see in the kind of the older infant, 10 to 12 months?
Yeah, so we might start to see baby more starting to get more nuanced with the social element of communication as well. So we might even see them waiting for a response. So they're almost mirroring conversation. So we might say something and then they might babble a little bit and then they almost are waiting and inviting us to respond. And so we're starting to mirror and replicate that conversation to and fro, back and forth, that serve and return, which we'll talk more about in that social and emotional wellness episode. And in our first season, we talked about the serve and return as well. So it's mimicking the rhythm of conversation and speech. And between 10 and 12 months, we might even hear something, a gross approximation of a first word. So it might not sound perfect, but you might go, I just think they tried to say dog. So it might be like, dot, 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 and they're looking at a dog, which is really exciting. And a great thing that we can do is respond to that.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a dog.
Yeah. And just repeating the word back to them.
Yeah.
It's, just training them to be like, yes, dog, dog.
Yeah. And sometimes we think with language and speech that if we want our baby to talk, that the best approach might be to ask them questions, but that can also be a lot of pressure. So I like what you're saying, just repeating back, echoing back, even if you feel a bit silly, echoing back like num, 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 num. But that's all really great. And if
Yeah.
you don't know what to say back to your baby, just say what they said
That's
to
right.
you. because
Repeat it back to them.
Everyone likes to
Hear themselves.
hear themselves.
Yeah, that's
you know?
right. And babies, they love themselves.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
fabulous.
They are.
So
they
they
think
will
they're great.
appreciate
They'll
it.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. And it just also shows that delight in them, which all babies really love as well.
Do you remember your kids, their first words?
Oh, it was probably dada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always dada.
Yeah. It's like,
Just easier to say.
Easier to say. That those b sounds are often so ball, dad, dog, they're often first words.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes they come out with something and they go bubble, and you're like, perfect. And you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah, that was my middle son's first word was
Really?
bubble. Yeah.
That's incredible.
I know,
I
they
wonder if it's a common one.
Yeah, maybe it's easy to say.
Yeah, the double
Yeah.
sound.
One that we don't often talk about in babies in that first year is the development of their eyes and their sight.
Yeah, and we wanted to bring this up because it is one that often a lot of people might have the idea that babies can't see anything, particularly when they're born or that. And we perhaps used to think that way, that babies didn't see much, but we do know that newborn babies can see. It's quite blurry. It's quite short-sighted. Is that correct? Yes,
Yeah,
they can only
can't see far.
which is perfect for seeing a face.
Yeah.
And it's probably more grayscale rather than full colour. But again, we know that we have all developed colour vision and distance and tracking and all of that ability. So that's developing, particularly from that sort of 4-month mark. We start to see quite significant developments in eyesight. More clearly, they're more able to recognise familiar faces, and they're actually starting to use their two eyes together, which is quite cool as well. Colour vision starting to kick in, and really by sort of that 7 to 9 month stage, they're getting much better at judging distance. So this does have an impact, right? Because suddenly the world's gotten a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the world used to just be that sort of distance from holding a baby to their face to now full colour, full distance, full tracking.
Very overwhelming and
Very
overstimulating.
overwhelming, yeah.
For a lot of babies.
And it's not uncommon that, you know, this could be something we talk about with parents as to why around sort of 4 to 6 months it might contribute to a more unsettled period. And we do talk more about that 4 to 6 month sleep regression / progression in another episode.
Yeah.
But it's good to just think about that it's not just one thing that's happening.
No, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot happening with your
Yeah.
baby's development, and eyesight is one that does contribute.
Yeah.
The world's gotten a lot bigger.
Yeah. It can be scary.
Yeah.
When your world was so small
Yeah.
to go to being so big.
And it's also the time where we might have a baby that, you know, if you've got a little bit of a shard of light or something coming through the window, or you've got a tree, and previous your baby fell asleep quite easily or linked sleep cycles, now they're looking at that little sort of flashing green light from the baby monitor, and they can actually really see it now, and they're distracted by it. So if you find that, you know, there may be some environmental little tweaks that you can make that do help, say with sleep or...
It's the same with feeding.
Yeah.
You find at this
yeah.
age, we get a lot of calls on the parenting line, my baby won't feed. They're just a swivel head.
Yes.
You know, they're just looking around at the world, and it's really common because the world has just opened up for them.
Yeah. And yes, that baby that previously you could go meet your friends in a cafe and you know, feed quite easily, subtly breastfeed, or not subtly, depending on your vibe. But now suddenly,
your boobs are out, but the baby's not feeding.
That baby is like, oh, the waiter, oh, the window, oh, the person, oh, the other baby, and it can be trickier. Yeah. And again, knowing that it's like the world has opened up, so it's a lot coming in. Your baby will dial down and calm down when we start to realise that that's the new normal for them, you know, and they integrate, they modulate, they're able to turn up and down the visual information
that's right.
That's coming in. But in the beginning it can often
very
be quite
overwhelming.
a bit.
Yeah. So play ideas in terms of development for eyes would be things like books, toys, just going out into nature, looking at things. It's so simple.
Colour.
Yeah.
There has been a trend of the beige baby over recent years.
It's a nice
It
vibe.
looks lovely, you know, to have everything sort of muted. But there is something in exposing your baby to colour.
Yeah.
And that's...
You can do it through books.
Yeah, books, nature, there's colour everywhere.
There is.
Yeah.
And not screens, we would say at this age.
Yeah, as much as possible.
Yeah.
I think the general recommendation is to try to avoid screens with your baby until after the age of 2. So, you know, we, again, endorse that recommendation for brain development and...
Yeah.
there's the rest. There's a lot of other opportunities to
Yeah.
look at stimulating things.
There is. So what would be some things that parents might be concerned about to look out for?
Yeah, and there are quite a few. So maybe the eye's not moving together, especially after that sort of 6-month period when we would expect the eyes to be starting to be used together. If they look like they're not sort of tracking equally, or if there's one eye that's maybe moving independently of the other, that would be something we might want to, follow up with.
Yep.
Anything else?
Different size pupils?
Yeah.
Is this a common one?
It's not hugely common, but does occur. You have some personal
I have different size pupils, yeah.
And you only realised as an adult?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been living my whole life, apparently, with different size pupils.
Yeah, but definitely it is something that if you do notice, if it is noticeable that if baby's got one pupil that's dilating differently to the other, that is worth following up on that.
Yeah, definitely. Sensitivity to light.
Yeah, sensitivity to light or staring kind of into the light. Again, just things that it's really common for babies to like a bright source, and us as human beings, we will look towards light.
Yeah.
But if it's sort of impacting exploring the environment, so they're focusing in or they, are getting very distressed going out into bright lights, just things that you think, this is a little bit more impactful to our daily life or impactful for them in exploring their environment, then it's worth talking to someone about. And it's always worth, if you notice something that looks a little bit different, to bring it up. We know that there's a huge wide range of normal, but some of these little things do add up. And so if we're seeing something in one area of development and we're also seeing some differences in other areas of development, that helps to form a picture of a baby that might need a little bit more support.
Yeah. I think having touched on light and then also touched on the kind of 4-month sleep progression, I think, and also an important thing for us to talk about is melatonin.
Yeah.
And this is something that we know babies, they don't produce their own melatonin until they're around 3 to 4 months of age.
How do they get melatonin before that then?
They usually get it from their mother. So if mum is breastfeeding, then they will get it through their mum. They don't otherwise have it because newborns will feed and then sleep out of exhaustion, really.
Because they're satiated.
That's right, yeah. And so there's no real circadian rhythm. They've got no rhythm to the day other than they feed and they sleep, and they might have a little bit of a play in between. But once they get to that 3 to 4 months and their brain starts to develop this melatonin, they do get more of a circadian rhythm. So you will see these changes in the baby's brain, sleep, in terms of longer periods of sleep overnight and maybe catnapping during the day as they get more used to being awake in the day and asleep overnight.
Yeah, and they're kind of good signs, because that shows us that circadian rhythm is clicking in.
Yes.
Hey, I sleep more at night and I feed less at night.
Fingers crossed.
And then I sleep generally less in the day, but I feed more in the day. But of course, we know that little babies still are feeding in the night and still sleeping in the day, but it's a start of that clicking in.
It is, and it can be very disheartening when you suddenly see that, because you feel like you've had this baby maybe that slept really well during the day and you could get a lot of things done and maybe put them down, and then they don't. Yeah. But actually it's a really good sign that their brain is developing its own melatonin and it's starting to wake up to the daytime, and hopefully you'll see a little bit of longer stretches overnight.
Yeah. And so that natural light, particularly early morning light and later afternoon light, is really helpful.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a real sort of slow burn strategy.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily going to, see some sort of miraculous change in sleep from, going out in the morning or exposing to later afternoon light. But if it's something that becomes a bit of a ritual and routine, it does help support that circadian rhythm. Yeah. It's good for yourself as well.
It is. And that also helps the start. When you go out into that afternoon light, that actually is what helps the melatonin be released and gets baby ready for bed. And it's about the environment as well, as having a nice dark environment, having a nice calm, gentle bedtime, and that all helps with that melatonin production.
Yeah, it's cues to kind of say, hey, sleepy time is coming.
That's right. Yeah.
How did we end up talking about sleep?
Oh, we always do.
It's
everyone's favourite topic.
Yeah. And it is a huge thing that we do talk about.
It is.
And I hope what these first 2 episodes also sort of explained was that there are so many elements that we can't just talk about sleep in isolation. We're always looking at sleep in regard to development.
Yeah, variables coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
And we really don't know what is impacting a baby at any given time. We can only guess.
Yeah.
And it's just about problem solving kind of your way out of that.
Yeah. And if we learn that problem-solving approach, or if we help, and I think part of our role in the parenting line is really help to facilitate a problem-solving perspective, then that means as a parent, you've kind of got more tools in your tool bank when things go a little bit astray. And when you go, I don't know, things are falling apart, then you've got some tools to try to work it out, try to experiment, try to know that you're not going to break your baby.
No, that's right. You're not. You can't do that. You just, if you're responding to your baby, you can't break them. You're not spoiling them.
You're taking that responsive and that developmental lens. That's going to definitely help you to make decisions or, try things out with a bit more confidence. Yeah. It's been so lovely talking about development again today. Some really interesting
Thank you so much for all your wisdom. It's so lovely talking to an OT.
Yes, well, it's a good compliment, isn't it? We've got nurse, OT.
Yeah.
We sort of we work very transdisciplinary as well.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So, thanks, Jen.
No worries. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Parenting with Ngala. The topics covered in our podcast are general in nature, and the information might not suit everyone. If you're in Western Australia and would like to chat about a specific challenge, you can talk directly to the Ngala parenting line by calling 9368 9368. For all other links and resources, check out the Ngala website and the show notes below. Thank you again and see you next time.